Hello, my name is Jude Griebel. I'm a sculptor originally from Canada, and I'm now working between Canada and New York City, which I've been doing for about 12 years now. My initial art training was in Canada at the Emily Carr University of Art and Design and Concordia University, but a lot of the development of my work has been pushed forward with the assistance of residencies in various parts of the world, which have really informed my work in terms of feedback about my work, other cultural insights, and seeing how other artists are working in various places. Recently, I've been working in residence in France, Ireland, and Germany, and in Tokyo, Japan. And currently, I'm working in a residence in New York City, and will be working in various residencies in the States for the rest of 2025. When I talk about my work, I talk about my background a little bit. I'm from a farming and agricultural family in Canada. So from a very early point, my work began talking about the body in relation to the surrounding world and other species, and how humans impact the world around them in various ways. Since moving to the States and working more internationally, my work has broadened in its focus to look at global consumption and how we're entangled with the surrounding world on a more global level in terms of trade, deforestation, and industry. The sculptures I make are combinations of crafted materials, mostly working with wood, paper maches, and clays, and finally they're rendered in paint. There's a lot of detail in these works, and it's really important that the hand is in all of the works. They're not cast or printed, 3D printed, but the hours spent slowly carving and letting the works take shape by hand are important for me in the final illusion as I'm reflecting on those themes. I'm presenting my exhibition Revenants at the Hillyer Art Center. The idea for this exhibit came from doing a lot of residencies and visits to food production sites and marketplaces. I've really been interested and concerned about other species' lives within the factory food system and how those beings sustain us, but often exist just on the periphery of our awareness. This work is coming from a residency that I did in Tokyo at the Toyosu Seafood Market, which is the world's largest wholesale seafood market. And while I was there, I had a pass to go and draw sort of the ocean floor as it arrived at the marketplace each morning, and to draw the various species, how they were being sold and handled, and then the subsequent waste that was being bulldozed away at the end of each day. So visiting those markets and numerous other global markets, I wanted to create some sculptures that present these various commonly consumed species in their cooked or gastronomically transformed states. But what I've done is I've reinvested them with agency and possibility as these sort of hybrid beings, cooked but coming back alive and perhaps walking away from the table. So the work is a little bit tragic, it's a little bit humorous. It really plays with the emotional landscape of meat consumption that's suppressed by the corporate food industry, that presents meat to us in tidy styrofoam packages covered in plastic. But in this exhibition, you're forced to see these various species we mostly think of in terms of units and servings, and they're walking and they're standing in front of us, presenting their anatomy. It's often that we will just eat a shrimp and peel the tail off, but when it's inflated in scale and standing before you, you're sort of forced to contend with it as another being that's experienced this world as well. So it's been a really interesting process of elevating these sculptures or these bodies in terms of scale and working on all their minute details. The exhibition presents a number of sculptures of various sizes and some drawings, which are studies for the work. The sculptures all generate from drawings, so I spend a lot of time drawing and developing ideas that way, and then deciding how I'm going to push them forward into three-dimensional space. Another really important part of the exhibition is these shifts in scale. Whereas some species like the scallop behind me or this prawn are really inflated in scale, others are sort of smaller. When you're moving around the exhibit, you're forced to sort of look up at the various sculptures and then sort of look down at their more intimate and miniature details as well. So it's quite playful in that respect. So this exhibit is not asking the visitor to change their consumption habits so much, but just to consider and acknowledge them in certain ways. We're at an interesting point in time where the world is considering food futures, new protein sources, fake and lab-grown meats. It's a really confusing time to be an eater and a consumer. Or this exhibition and the works in this exhibition are simply trying to provide a new platform for looking at these species that we normally don't acknowledge when consuming them. So it's quite playful in nature, and I hope that it sort of shifts people's perspectives in terms of how they're consuming and where those products are coming from. In terms of future projects, I'm working right now in residence at the International Studio and Curatorial Program in New York. It'll be my third time there as an alumni, and it's an institution that I really care about and has been key in the development of my work. And I'm back there currently developing some new works that are based on commercial crab and lobster tanks that we might see in grocery stores, where you would point at a species, it would be bagged alive, and then you would kill and consume it. But I'm working on these crustacean tanks, and they're created from stained glass, and they have stained glass human features on them, sort of casting light and shadow onto the species within. So it's really mixing those histories of the stained glass in terms of ritual and devotion with the frivolity and excess of that sort of comes along with eating a lobster, pointing to it and consuming it and throwing away all the shells. So I'm experimenting with glass and working in collaboration with a stained glass studio in Canada to create these works, which is a very new thing for me. And one is a smaller one, and I'm currently working on a much larger one that is around 10 feet that will be finished this summer for upcoming exhibitions. Pushing materials again, I'm also preparing for another upcoming residency at the Kohler Foundation in Wisconsin for their arts and industry residency, and I'll be working with technicians in the factory to create large-scale porcelain works, which is, I do not have a background in, but it's going to be a really amazing learning curve working with skilled technicians to produce porcelain versions of my sculptures.